If you have not yet, find yourself comfortable in your seat, whatever that might look like for you. Seated in a position where you can not be too worried about moving your body, not be too worried about finding a comfortable way to hold your back or shoulders or neck, something that supports you but isn't too rigid. And we'll start with some deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth slowly. And with the out breath, make sure that you completely empty your lungs all the way. Even another in breath. Trying to fill the lungs from the top to the bottom, fresh air. Maybe even to the point of feeling a little too full, feeling a level of intensity that completely focuses your mind. Checking in with our breath, becoming focused on our breath, allows us to focus on our connection to all things through air, through breath. Breath having been the gift God gave to a mound of earth, turn it into the first human. Our breath connecting us all the way back to the beginning and to each other through the same field of energy, of atoms. Another deep breath in through the nose. Slow, controlled, and complete breath out through the mouth. The next breath in, I want you to think about however you define divinity, God, the powers outside of you which exercise some amount of influence over your life or which you have no control. However you conceive that entity or idea, what is its greatest concern for you? What is it that you fill in its design? And therefore, what would it want you to say or do? You may not come up with a clear answer, and that's okay. Just focus in on the question. As you consider this question of your particular role in the unfolding of our world and reality, and take another step back and think about your particular role in the unfolding of your family. Going all the way back to even the mythological ancestors of our people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Even though no one can truly trace their full genealogy back there, I invite you to imagine a line of people standing behind you, going all the way back to that beginning point. Some of them you know, probably relatively soon in that line Or reach people whose names you don't know, perhaps even their location where they would have lived, you don't know. Imagine this full chain of being between you, going all the way back to the mists of history. How does your embodied life here fulfill the next step in that line? What gifts did you inherit, either from the mythical ancestors or the real ancestors? What have you heard or do you know has been kept alive in you from those that came before you? Perhaps would have no other home for life in this world. Particular unique constellation that you are of all that came before. Deep breath in through your nose. Slow, controlled breath out through your mouth. As you consider that connecting line between you and your ancestors going back far into the mists of time, the way that you embody those who came before you. I also invite you to consider what things you have learned, you have inherited, you have ingrained within you that bring you joy. Perhaps you can even trace some of them back to your childhood, thinking about the root of joys that you still encounter today. Perhaps a type of food, certain place, maybe music. What things do you find joy in today that are brought forward from how you were raised? Now I invite you to envision a place that you associate great joy with. Perhaps a place from childhood, youth, or even adulthood. A place outside in nature that you associate with joy. It could be the yard of a house you grew up in. It could be a place you went to camp. It could be a place you only visited once. Still feel a deep connection to. Once you have this place clear in your mind, I invite you to begin building a sukkah there. Small, freestanding enclosure, which you can see through the ceiling, has at least two temporary walls. You can imagine yourself building it with your hands. Just imagine it popping up from the ground if you'd like, whatever way in which this sukkah comes to be in this place. It's fine. Perhaps it looks very bare, just some tent poles. Perhaps it looks more like the sukkah in our sanctuary, ornate and beautiful, covered in greenery and produce. Whatever comes to mind is perfect for you. As it becomes clear and solid in your mind, I want you to imagine yourself sitting in this sukkah, reflecting once again on those root causes of joy for you. What joy comes to mind? What ideas, what things that bring you such happiness? And as they each appear in your mind, I invite you to imagine them being encapsulated in a seed in your hand. Each joy its own seed. And as you place each source of joy for you in each seed, I want you to begin finding a place. It can be within the sukkah, outside the sukkah, to plant these seeds, to give these joys back to the earth, so that they will grow forth in new ways. Each seed can be gently placed into the earth. No need to imagine heavy labor or heavy digging. But do imagine each individual seed being planted by your hand. Deep breath in through the nose. Slow breath out through your mouth as you envision cultivating this garden of joy. Once you have planted each seed, each of you will return to sitting in the sukkah you initially built, or was raised or appeared for you. To watch each seed grows quickly into a new form of joy. What new way grows from the earth for you to experience the same kind of joy? Perhaps you can envision these plants growing into certain shapes that signify the form of your joy. Perhaps they sprout forward with pictures on them, screen of some kind, each articulating a new way in which you can experience a joy connected to your ancestors, your upbringing, and formulating it in a new way. Perhaps it's something you've done before, but not in a long time, or not in this form. Deep breath in through your nose. Slow breath out through your mouth. What joys are sprouting up from the ground for you? Whatever the form they come in, I invite you to collect them. Imagine yourself standing from your seated position, and drawing forth the fruit from these plants. However many you planted, however many rose up. Holding them in your hand, looking at them, remembering them. And bringing them in to your sukkah. From here, I invite you to commit yourself to pursuing these joys. Over the next few days before Sukkot ends, in what way can you actualize these new forms of joy? No matter what they are, how can you try to live an old joy in a new way? You can hold them in your mind if you feel that will be effective. If you feel it'll be more effective, I invite you to perhaps write them down, either on your computer or on a piece of paper. That won't be too disruptive for you. So that you remember and commit yourself to experiencing these joys. Sukkot is Zman Simchatenu, season of our joy, in which we are commanded to seek joy in our everyday. And sitting in the sukkah in your mind, I invite you to imagine yourself doing one of these things right now. Perhaps it's cooking a certain food or going to a certain restaurant, listening to certain music, whatever it might be. Fully experience it in your mind's eye right now. Deep breath in through your nose. Slow breath out through your mouth. Completely emptying the lungs. Now, before we return back to our spaces, I invite you to also say out loud one thing that is that you want over the next few days that will bring you joy. Putting it out in the world, allowing your own ears to hear it, perhaps allowing your conception of the divine to carry it forward. Once you've articulated this one thing out loud, I invite you to take another deep breath in through your nose. Feel it fully entering your sinuses, going down your throat, filling your lungs, spreading oxygen out to your whole body. If you'd like, you can stretch your legs out, your arms out. Be very gentle, but also allowing your body to move a little bit as you bring your consciousness back to it. Chag Sameach, happy Sukkot.